Picture this. You're watching a show and the protagonist is just going about their day with no struggles. Seems pretty boring, doesn't it? If the protagonist faces no challenge, then you aren't engaged. There needs to be something at play here. Something to keep you at the edge of your seat. Something that keeps you guessing. In other words, a conflict. Whenever a character faces a challenge, usually have to sacrifice something or change themselves in order to find a solution. The sacrifice or change is what makes the plot satisfying and makes the plot make sense. Now apply this logic to one of the most popular shows, Dexter. Dexter follows, you guessed it, Dexter Morgan, a psychopath from birth with the urge to kill instilled in his cold heart, who also works as a blood spatter analyst at Miami Metro Police Department. He hunts down those who he thinks deserve it. The way he determines who suffices as a victim is through his code. This code was something taught to him by his foster father, Harry Morgan. The code boils down to two main points. 1. Don't get caught. And 2. Don't kill an innocent. The first rule is self-explanatory. However, the second rule requires some explanation. A person deserving of being murdered is, ironically, murderers. Dexter's code is the only substance to his character at the start of the show. Other than that, he's an incredibly flat character. The show is incredibly long, and I don't feel like analyzing all 8 seasons, so tone in on 2. Season 2, Season 4. Dexter's secrets have been uncovered. Sorta. At the start of Season 2, we see that all the bodies of Dexter's victims have been uncovered. His method of dumping the bodies in the ocean has backfired on him, as a group of divers uncovered 13 dismembered and desecrated bodies. Already, we can see the symbolism of foreshadowing for things to come. Everyone already knows that the number 13 symbolizes unluckiness, which is evident in the fact that Dexter is undergoing his worst nightmare. However, 13 can also mean the test, the suffering, and the death, deriving from tarot cards. The death and suffering bit is already covered, but the test is the events that occur throughout Season 2. All the things that happen to Dexter are a test of his ability to stay true to his morals and to how he will bend over backwards to maintain his code. Back to the show. News outlets have given a name to the mysterious murderer, the Bay Harbor Butcher. As any homicide department should, Miami Metro is hard at work trying to crack the case of the Bay Harbor Butcher. Due to the recent case, the FBI decides to step in, and here we meet the serial killer sniffer, Special Agent Frank Lundy. Even with all of this, Dexter still has to deal with the sergeant of the police force, James Dokes, who has always been suspicious of Dexter. Taking onto his own suspicion, Dokes starts following Dexter, making it even harder for Dexter to do what he does best, kill. This forces him to indulge in the second side of his life even more. The problems don't stop there though. Rita, Dexter's girlfriend, catches him on a lie that if he tells the truth, his secret would be uncovered. Here he retreats to the first rule of the code, don't get caught. So the only valid excuse for him at this moment is weirdly enough admitting that he's a drug addict. Dexter then goes to rehab where he meets Lila, his sponsor and also someone who tries to help Dexter with his dark passenger. She thinks her and Dexter are soulmates and would do anything for him. Fast forward some episodes and the case grows closer to Dexter, bit by bit. Miami Metro have realized that the Bay Harbor Butcher is one of their own, and Dokes' tale of Dexter proves worthy. Dokes confronts Dexter, in which Dexter prevails in their battle and captures Dokes, hiding him in a cage far away from civilization. Seems a bit racist, Dexter, but whatever. Now, Dexter is faced with a test. Does he A. set Dokes free, or B. kill Dokes? If he goes with option A, Dokes would tell everyone what happened to him, resulting in Dexter being caught. This breaks the first rule of his code, but if he chooses option B, he kills an innocent, which breaks his second rule. Dexter doesn't have time to choose either, since he has Miami Metro breathing down his neck. While all this is going on, Dexter goes home and checks in on his secret collection of blood size. He finds them missing? Right as he realizes this, FBI agents are at Dexter's door, requesting his presence back at the police station. Right now, the viewer is probably at the edge of their seat thinking, what's gonna happen? Whatever happens, Dexter for sure won't be the same after. Here is where it all goes downhill. Apparently, Dexter's blood slides were found in Dokes' car, leading the FBI to believe that Dokes is the Bay Harbor Butcher. This gives Dexter an idea for a third option. Option C, frame Dokes and Dexter could go scot-free. However, there's a problem with this plan. Even with Dokes being framed, he would still accuse Dexter of being the real Bay Harbor Butcher, having people look into him, making him sacrifice the killer in him. Now everything is on the line. If he goes with option A or B, he has to sacrifice his code, but if he goes with option C, he won't be able to kill anyone anymore, but would still be a free man. Lila discovers Dexter's true secret and finds Dokes locked in a cage. Lila does what she thinks is best for Dexter and cleans up his mess for him by blowing up Dokes and murdering him. Due to this decision, Dexter is innocent, and Dokes is framed as the Bay Harbor Butcher without any risk. Dexter as a character is still the same as he was at the start of the season. He sacrificed nothing. This leaves a sour taste in the viewer's mouth as it ruins all stakes presented in the season. To add salt in the wound, Dexter ends up murdering Lila, so there aren't any loose ends for Dexter to worry about in the future. All of this renders the whole of Season 2 pointless, all because the writers were too stubborn to give Dexter change. On a better note, let's take a look at, in my opinion, the best season of Dexter, Season 4. At the start of the season, Dexter and Rita are married and have a kid by now, named Harrison. The main antagonist of the season is called a Trinity killer, aka Arthur Fleck. Dexter had been tracking down this killer and even befriending him under the alias Kyle Butler. Skipping to the final episodes of the season, we see that Trinity uses his cleverness to figure out Dexter's identity by following him back to the Miami Metro PD. After this, Dexter knows how he must solve the problem: kill Trinity. But first, Dexter knows that if Trinity has figured out his identity, it won't be long until he attacks his family. In an effort to prevent this from happening, Dexter sends Rita and their kids to the Keys. Dexter tracks down Trinity, and even after some mishaps of losing him, he still gets him on his table and turns into one of his victims. Dexter sees the moon after he dumps Trinity's body in the ocean and thinks about Rita. Dexter's fake life is slowly becoming his real one. Rita has been the light to fight against Dexter's dark passenger. There still might be hope for him after all. We see Dexter coming back home and getting ready to leave with his wife Rita. Dexter calls Rita, but sees that her phone is still home and ringing next to his. He hears a baby crying from the bathroom, and there he sees Rita's dead body, in a tub full of blood. Harrison weeps in his mother's blood just like Dexter did when he was a kid. The cycle continues. This season fixes what Season 2 did wrong. It creates a satisfying conclusion to a conflict. Dexter's balancing of two lives has finally caught up to him. His selfish need to kill put his family at risk, and they paid the price for it. Dexter realizes there's no hope for himself. The problem is, this sentiment changes throughout the show. Sure, for the next 2 to 3 seasons, Dexter has to live with the consequences of what happened that night. But after that, it's barely mentioned again until the ending of the show. It's like they always want Dexter to have this endless battle of trying to be normal, but they never give him a consistent answer. After Rita's death, he mourns her, showing that he too has emotions even though he says he doesn't. But this too is also forgotten after it happens. Just like my previous point, it's never mentioned again during the show. The first 4 seasons of the show are incredible, and are very worthwhile to watch. Even with Season 2's flaws, it was in my opinion the second best season of the show. It's not perfect, but it's still great. I enjoyed the rest of the show, but I always felt like the level of quality produced was only going downhill post Season 4. We can only hope Dexter Resurrection will honor Dexter's legacy. Until next time.